How did Chief Executive of Cheltenham, Guy Lavender, enjoy his first four-day festival? He's with me on the line now. Guy, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Nick.
How was it for you?
It was epic. I think would be my single word description. And it was a very, very exciting 4 days of racing, and I think we were really heartened by the implementation of the changes that had been made since the last festival, which seemed to bear fruit. Really, it felt like a joyous occasion. It felt like a festival in its truest sense. So I think we're reflecting at the moment, I think, on a job pretty well done. Inevitably, there's lots of things that I think we can improve upon. But overall, I think having laid out some of the objectives in the open letter that we put out, that I wrote prior to the festival, I thought we did a good job this year.
You've covered a lot of ground this week. You've been in and out of every bar, hospitality facility, stabling area, canteen. When you thought about it on Friday night, what did you have at the top of your priority list as something you could make better?
Well, I think if you think about the overwhelming sentiment that's come through the festival, it has been very much about welcome and the sort of service provision, and I think we did that really effectively this year. It felt very good-natured, and I think that was reflected in everywhere I went around the racecourse. We were very pleased with parking, with ingress and egress, which are always going to be difficult with those numbers. That worked effectively. I think the changes to the relaxation of alcohol restrictions improved areas of the racecourse. And I think the entertainment plan around the racecourse post racing was great. And most importantly, the sport was phenomenal. Unexpected, poignant, really, really interesting. So I think in the round, we laid out the desire to reset, to think about what we're doing in the festival. And I think that's sort of part of the start point, I guess, for what comes next. So we're very much now in a process of review and reflection and thinking about 2026, although we will go and sail actually with tickets for 2026 tomorrow morning.
Okay, so and presumably you can, if you want to buy tickets now for 2026, you can buy them at a much more advantageous price.
Yeah, so in terms of pricing, we go on sale tomorrow morning with tickets. Big debate around pricing and value at the festival, which I think I've recognised, but we've had no price increase for this year from last, and we won't have a price increase for 2026 either. In fact, there'll be a small element of increased value for those that buy it in the early bird windows. So, by way of example, tomorrow morning we will go on sale for 2026. The best mate enclosure will be £35 in the first sales window compared to £37 last year, and I think we've tracked that through the TATs and club tickets as well. So we're very mindful of price. But of course, tickets are only one component, and I think there's some other things that we need to look at. But tomorrow we're going to go on sale with tickets for general admission. We're going to go on sale with membership, which has been reduced by £15. I'm going to cap the number of annual members to make sure we can deliver the level of experience and service. And then we're also going to go on sale with the multi-day ticket for the November meeting, which is going to deliver better value. So you'll get from what I'm saying that the value proposition for me is critical, and I think Lee covered it well in his earlier points. You know, we've got to get this bit right to drive the numbers and drive enthusiasm for the festival. But again, there's an optimum number, not a maximum, which I think we want to be focused upon, because I think you can then deliver the level of a customer experience that people expect.
Are you trying to buy back more loyalty? So the festival is no longer something that feels so self-contained as regards people who only go racing for those 4 days. Are you trying to build back Cheltenham Racecourse loyalty? So you actually might get a much bigger cross-section of a crowd who might attend November, December, January to turn up to the festival and not think, well, actually, that's not for me because it's too crowded and it's too expensive and I can't get a pint at a reasonable price, and I can't go to the loo and all that sort of thing.
Yes, very much so. You know, I think my job is to look at the race programs, the 16 days of racing in the round, and I think there's scope to build the November meeting in particular. Out the New Year's Day meeting, we had 33,000 people there. So I think there's opportunities to look at the racing offer at Cheltenham in the round, but inevitably there's a core focus on the festival. It's the showpiece of the jumps racing calendar, and we've got to make sure that's right. So I think the process for me now is, what are the micro changes that you can make? And there are hundreds of those that we've seen over the last 4 days. And then there are some big macro issues around price, value, accommodation, price of food and beverage, etc., which will pick up over the spring.
Guy, what's the magic number as regards crowds? Because we can all talk about numbers and in a fairly abstract way and see numbers falling from that great peak after COVID, which we've sort of got to put an asterisk by. What's actually the right number? What works for you commercially each day or overall? What are you driving towards to create that profitability and comfort balance?
Well, I think the real issue for me is to not worry too much about the overall numbers, because if you get the experience and the value proposition and the price right, your numbers are going to grow. So you don't have direct control over where the numbers might end up, but you do have direct control over the things that make it a great experience. So, I genuinely think we want to see numbers grow. The economics of Cheltenham are very strong. It's an enormously profitable racecourse. But of course, it funds and supports the rest of the Jockey Club Racecourse group. So there's a balance to be struck. My view is actually that we shouldn't be aiming for a maximum capacity attendance. We should be aiming for an optimum. And when you talk about optimum, I think around the 60 to 65 mark per day feels about the right number. It's busy. Gold Cup Day was very busy, but it feels that that's where we want to be, because you've got to deliver the level of experience. And we know, and I know from my previous experience in other venues, if it's absolutely rammed, it's quite difficult to deliver what you need. So I think we can get that balance right. I think there's the opportunity to grow. I think we've done a pretty good job this year about resetting, and I think there's some stuff that we can do to make it even better next year.
Well, you set yourself a nice, easy task. You've just got to get Wednesday's crowd up by a third by next year.
I think we can do it. I think people that'll have come this year will have had a brilliant time. And if we can address some of the other issues that I've mentioned around experience and value, I think we can have great deal of confidence that we can grow.
I've got one more for you. The Cheltenham Chamber of Commerce has been sort of quite bullish about its pricing strategy and particularly the economic benefits that confers on the area. Other people, and particularly hoteliers, publicans in the sort of wider region, if you like, the wider Cotswold region, saying, well, this is absolute nonsense. We're seeing a massive downturn in our business, and that's simply because of the greed of those hoteliers and publicans in central Cheltenham, which knocks on to taxi prices and so on and so forth. Where does the racecourse stand on that philosophically?
Well, philosophically, we want to have affordable accommodations for people who come to the festival. And if we don't do that, it's another barrier for people to attend. I think what we need to do over the course, which we're starting to do in the next couple of years, is do a proper piece of analysis. There's anecdotal evidence, but we need to really look at some of the data. And whilst we don't have control of all of the elements of the cost base for customers, I think we've got to work with hoteliers and accommodation providers and the Chamber of Commerce to work out how we deliver what we need to do. We can do some of that ourselves through our own website. We set up Room to Race to start that process. I think, incidentally, there will be a natural readjustment of the market for next year, because I think there was quite a lot of accommodation that we certainly saw that came back onto the market quite late, or that didn't sell. So I think there'll be some market readjustment, but also it's a major point on our agenda for looking for next year as how we're going to address this issue. It's just another thing that disincentivises people to come, and we've got to reduce all of those barriers wherever we can.
Guy, thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick.
Guy Lavender, the Chief Executive of Cheltenham Racecourse, with lots of ideas and targets set then for 2026.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.